This is a sparring program, much like the programmed reality of the Matrix. It follows the same fundamental rules such as gravity. However, it's important to recognize that these rules aren't any different from the rules that govern a computer system. Some of these rules can be bent, and others can be broken. What if the world we live in is a hologram? A reality that could be altered if we knew how to do so. Right now, the world around you may seem solid and unchanging, but what if it's not as fixed as it appears? What if the reality we experience is not as rigid as it seems, and there's a way to reshape it using the power of your mind? Imagine having the ability to influence the speed at which your desires manifest, aligning your life more closely with your true purpose. If such a thing were possible, surely there would be evidence, accounts, and undeniable proof of it. But the question is there any evidence? Let's dive deeper into the nature of reality, focusing particularly on the fascinating theory of Dr. Jacobo Grinberg. Through his research, we can explore the idea that we have a pivotal role in creating the reality we experience. Dr. Grinberg's work uncovers the mysteries of what is often labeled as miracles and helps us understand how we might influence our lives in extraordinary ways. But how do we do this? How do we unlock the power to influence the fabric of reality? It's not just about theory, it's about practice. Dr. Grinberg developed a meditation practice that could help us connect with the divine and shift our consciousness to a higher state, facilitating the manifestation of our desires. This practice has the potential to reprogram the way we perceive and interact with the world, guiding us toward the life we seek to create. As I share these insights with you, I hope you can embrace them as tools for your own journey. The key to expanding your consciousness lies in understanding that reality isn't fixed. It's fluid, dynamic, and open to influence. By tapping into the methods that Grinberg discovered, you might begin to see your world in a new light. A world where your deepest desires are not just dreams but potentials waiting to unfold. Supernatural phenomena, psychic powers. The idea that matter and the laws of nature can be manipulated is not a new concept. Throughout history, there have been documented cases of individuals who have defied the conventional laws of physics. These remarkable events and abilities have been witnessed across different cultures and times. People from various traditions have described extraordinary gifts such as clairvoyance, telepathy, precognition, spiritual healing, and even levitation. These phenomena are often seen as evidence of a deeper, unseen power or a hidden aspect of human potential. In many spiritual traditions, the manipulation of matter or the mastery over natural laws is not only believed to be possible, but it is also seen as a natural consequence of advanced spiritual practice. One such example is found in Hinduism, where the concept of siddhis plays a prominent role. Siddhis are supernatural powers or abilities that are attained through intense spiritual practice, meditation, and yoga. These powers are said to arise from a deep connection with the divine and a mastery over the physical world. Ancient texts, such as Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, elaborate on how meditation, yoga, and other spiritual disciplines can unlock extraordinary abilities. These texts describe how the disciplined practice of these methods can lead to the development of powers like levitation, telepathy, and even control over matter. According to these teachings, as one progresses on the spiritual path, they can transcend the limitations of the physical world and gain control over seemingly impossible feats, such as manipulating time and space. The idea of siddhis is not confined to Hinduism alone. Similar concepts of supernatural abilities are found in other cultures and religions around the world. In Buddhism, for example, certain monks are believed to possess powers such as walking on water or manifesting objects. In the Western mystical traditions, figures like the alchemists sought to understand and master the fundamental forces of nature, aiming to transmute base metals into gold and achieve immortality. While many people today may view such accounts with skepticism, the recurring nature of these stories in various traditions suggests that there may be more to the human experience than what meets the eye. The idea that the mind and spirit can influence the physical world is a powerful one, and whether through meditation, spiritual practice, or other methods, it challenges us to reconsider the boundaries of reality and the full extent of human potential. Throughout history, these abilities have been described not only as feats of power, but also as tools for spiritual enlightenment. The mastery of siddhis is often seen as a sign of spiritual maturity, where the practitioner transcends ego and achieves a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. In this view, the manipulation of matter and the laws of nature is not an act of dominance or control, but rather a reflection of the oneness with the universe. As we continue to explore these ancient traditions and modern scientific discoveries, we might uncover new ways to tap into these extraordinary abilities and gain a greater understanding of the potential that lies within us all. Whether through the ancient practices of yoga and meditation or through new scientific explorations into consciousness, the pursuit of these extraordinary powers may lead us to a deeper connection with the universe and the realization that the laws of nature may not be as fixed as we once believed. Examples of psychic powers in history. One of the most famous examples of supernatural powers in Christianity, aside from Jesus Christ, is Saint Joseph of Cupertino, a 17th-century Neapolitan friar. He was known for his deep spiritual devotion and profound religious experiences, which led to him being recognized as a mystic. During his religious ecstasies, Saint Joseph reportedly entered such a profound communion with the divine that his body would levitate. This phenomenon often occurred during Mass, where, in the midst of prayer or worship, he would become so spiritually absorbed that his body remained suspended in the air for several minutes. These levitations were witnessed by astonished onlookers, and the reports of his extraordinary feats spread widely. His ability was so remarkable that it drew the attention of the Inquisition, which ultimately recognized him as a true mystic, confirming his sanctity and the authenticity of his experiences. In addition to levitation, Saint Joseph of Cupertino was known for other miraculous occurrences, including visions and prophetic insights. His ability to transcend the normal laws of physics was not viewed as an act of personal power, but rather as a sign of divine favor and a reflection of his unwavering faith and spiritual devotion. His story remains one of the most notable examples of levitation in Christian mysticism, demonstrating the profound connection that some believe can exist between the physical body and the spiritual realm. In Tibetan Buddhism, another renowned case of levitation is associated with Milarepa, an 11th-century yogi and poet. Milarepa, often regarded as one of Tibet's most revered saints, is said to have attained a state of spiritual realization after years of intense meditation, ascetic practices, and self-discipline. According to legend, after enduring a long and difficult journey toward enlightenment, Milarepa achieved a profound state of spiritual awakening that granted him extraordinary powers. These included the ability to dematerialize his body, alter matter, and, most famously, levitate. Milarepa's levitation, like that of Saint Joseph of Cupertino, was viewed as a manifestation of his deep spiritual enlightenment. His abilities were not seen as a mere physical feat, but as a sign of his transcendent understanding of the nature of reality. The stories of Milarepa's levitations are intertwined with his poetic teachings, which focused on the importance of inner purity, self-control, and devotion to the spiritual path. These miraculous powers were seen as the natural byproduct of his years of intense practice and meditation, illustrating the potential for spiritual mastery to transcend the limitations of the physical world. In both the case of Saint Joseph of Cupertino and Milarepa, the levitations were not isolated events, but were part of a broader pattern of extraordinary abilities attributed to their spiritual states. Both individuals were revered not only for their supernatural powers, but also for their humility, devotion, and selflessness. These stories, while seemingly supernatural, were understood by their followers as proof of a deep, mystical connection to the divine and the ultimate truth of existence. While these levitations are often the most dramatic aspect of their spiritual journeys, both figures also demonstrated profound wisdom, compassion, and insight into the human condition. The miracles attributed to them were often seen as reflections of their inner transformation, and their stories continue to inspire those who seek a deeper connection with the divine and a greater understanding of the potential for human beings to transcend the limitations of the material world. Jacobo Grinberg, The Mystery of Reality. However, how are these phenomena viewed by science? This is where Mexican psychologist and neurophysiologist Jacobo Grinberg enters the picture. He abruptly vanished in 1994, in the height of his career. There are many theories regarding his whereabouts, and his life and disappearance are shrouded in mystery. A crime of passion and a potential kidnapping by CIA covert agents are the most supported scenarios. After 7 years of investigation, director Ida Cuellar's documentary on Grinberg's disappearance was released in 2020. Grinberg's name can be found in declassified CIA records about telepathy research. Although the documentary adds mystery, Grinberg's revolutionary thoughts on reality and consciousness, rather than his disappearance, are what make him most fascinating. The human brain may be the key to comprehending the intricate relationships between the mind and reality, according to Grinberg, who was profoundly interested in consciousness and the nature of reality. He completed his studies in neurophysiology at the New York Brain Research Institute and psychology at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. His work on the electrophysiological effects of geometric stimuli on the brain ultimately led to his doctorate. Paranormal Phenomena and Science. Jacobo Grinberg gained recognition by blending his expertise in neurophysiology with spiritual and esoteric traditions, crafting a unique approach that merged science with mysticism. He was often referred to as a scientist among shamans and a shaman among scientists. Grinberg had a particular fascination with shamanism, a spiritual practice that deeply intertwines with the belief in communication with an invisible world of spirits, ancestors, and natural forces. Shamans, in various cultures around the world, are believed to bridge the gap between the physical world and the spirit realm, acting as intermediaries who channel healing energy and wisdom from otherworldly sources. Shamans employ a variety of techniques to enter altered states of consciousness, such as chanting, dancing, drumming, or consuming sacred plants. These practices are used to invoke spiritual visions or to engage with unseen forces. These altered states allow shamans to travel to other dimensions, interact with spirits, or influence reality in ways that appear inexplicable by modern scientific standards. Through these abilities, shamans are said to heal diseases, influence the weather, access hidden knowledge, or even foresee future events. Such powers, often considered miraculous, are revered in many indigenous cultures, positioning shamans as key figures within their communities. Grinberg's interest in these practices went beyond merely observing them. He sought to understand them through the lens of neuroscience and modern scientific inquiry. He theorized that shamans were unknowingly utilizing their neural fields, their individual cognitive and energetic frameworks, to interact with and modify what he referred to as the latice. The lattice, in Grinberg's theory, was a kind of holographic matrix that encompassed all the reality we perceive. This reality, which we experience as solid and immutable, might be much more fluid and malleable than we realize. Grinberg's concept of the lattice was rooted in the idea that human perception is a projection, one that can be influenced or even restructured through the right mental or spiritual practices. He postulated that, just as a computer's graphics card creates an image on a screen by interpreting and manipulating data, the human brain interprets and influences the underlying code of reality, which is contained within the lattice. The lattice is not just an abstract idea. It represents the very fabric of reality itself, and by shifting the neural fields, Grinberg believed humans could tap into this code to change their perceptions, create new realities, and even manifest their desires. In his research, Grinberg began to explore how the practices of shamans, such as using sacred plants or engaging in specific rituals, might alter the neural fields to bring about changes in the lattice. He theorized that these ancient practices were not merely symbolic, but were based on an intuitive understanding of how consciousness and reality are connected. In other words, shamans were tapping into a deeper, subconscious knowledge of how the brain and reality interact, using techniques passed down through generations. Grinberg's work led him to a deeper inquiry into the nature of consciousness itself. He wondered if the state of consciousness experienced by shamans during their rituals allowed them to bypass the normal cognitive filters that limit our perception. Could it be that by entering a state of heightened awareness, one could tap into a broader understanding of reality, thereby accessing abilities that seem supernatural to the untrained mind? Grinberg believed that by reaching certain levels of consciousness, it might be possible to consciously engage with the lattice, altering the code that shapes our experience of the world. Grinberg's investigation into these altered states of consciousness, combined with his background in neurophysiology, led him to propose a fascinating theory: that all of reality could be understood as a holographic projection. This hologram, the latice, contains all the information needed to perceive the world, but by understanding how to manipulate it, one could gain greater control over the physical world and transcend the limitations of time and space. This insight led to his exploration of concepts like manifestation, where human consciousness could directly influence the material world, much like a shaman's ability to manipulate their environment. Grinberg's work is groundbreaking because it represents a fusion of ancient spiritual practices with cutting-edge science. He was one of the few to attempt to bridge the gap between mysticism and the material sciences, using modern research methods to explore spiritual phenomena. Though his theories remain controversial and speculative in the scientific community, they have inspired many who seek to understand the deeper, more mysterious aspects of human consciousness and its potential to shape the world around us. Among the many shamans Jacobo Grinberg encountered and studied, Pachita stood out as one of the most remarkable figures. She was a healer who performed what could only be described as spiritual surgeries, conducting intricate surgical procedures without the use of any physical tools. This practice, so far beyond the realm of conventional medicine, intrigued Grinberg deeply. Grinberg, a scientist with a laboratory focused on brain activity and physiology, had spent his career analyzing the intricacies of the brain and its functions. His initial encounter with Pachita's operations was completely contradictory to his understanding of reality. It was an experience that left him astounded and questioning the very foundations of his scientific beliefs. Grinberg described Pachita as one of the most astonishing cases he had ever witnessed. Over several months, he observed her treating patients with severe, often life-threatening conditions, including those suffering from diseased lungs. Pachita demonstrated an uncanny ability to perceive the issues plaguing the body and heal them in ways that defied the logic of medical science. During her sessions, Pachita performed surgeries that were nothing short of miraculous. She would extract diseased organs and replace them with healthy ones that seemed to materialize out of thin air, right before Grinberg's eyes. What was even more extraordinary was that she did all of this using only a simple knife. The surgeries, which would typically take hours under normal circumstances, were completed within minutes. The patient's conditions would improve almost instantaneously, without the need for the complicated and lengthy processes that conventional surgery involves. Grinberg was fascinated by the phenomenon, but also determined to understand how she achieved these seemingly impossible feats. Through careful observation and reflection, he concluded that Pachita was not working within the traditional framework of physical reality that he understood. Instead, she was operating on a level of consciousness where reality itself had already been formed. In this state, the typical intermediate steps required for healing, such as cutting open the body or replacing organs in a surgical manner, were rendered unnecessary. Her ability to bypass these steps suggested that she was directly manipulating the most fundamental aspects of reality. Building on this observation, Grinberg theorized that the human brain interacts with a pre-existing informational field that shapes and creates what we perceive as reality. In other words, our consciousness does not simply respond to external stimuli, but actively participates in the formation of our reality. Grinberg proposed that what we perceive as the material world, the colors, shapes, and physical objects around us, do not exist in the same way we have traditionally understood them. Instead, they are manifestations of consciousness itself, brought into being by the brain's interaction with the informational field. According to Grinberg's theory, Pachita was able to tap into this informational field directly, operating at a level of consciousness that existed beyond the ordinary human experience. She could manipulate the very building blocks of reality itself. By doing so, she was able to alter the body's condition without resorting to the usual medical interventions. It was as if she was operating on a different plane of existence, one where the physical laws of our world didn't hold the same sway. To understand this further, Grinberg suggested imagining reality as a living, constantly evolving hologram. This hologram, which we perceive as our three-dimensional world, is in fact an ever-changing projection. Humans, in our limited perception, interact with this hologram as if it were the only true reality. We see only the reflection, the physical manifestation, of this underlying projection. When we seek to change something in our lives, we typically rely on the tools and techniques available within this reflection, such as medical procedures, machinery, or manual labor. However, individuals like Pachita, or even figures like Jesus Christ, could bypass this projection altogether. They could manipulate the source of the hologram itself, directly altering the underlying informational field from which the physical world is projected. By doing this, they were able to make instantaneous changes, bypassing the usual steps required to bring about physical alterations. This ability to alter reality at its most fundamental level is what set figures like Pachita apart from the ordinary experience of reality that most people understand. Grinberg's research into these phenomena, combined with his background in neuroscience, led him to a profound conclusion. Our understanding of reality is incomplete, and consciousness plays a far more active role in shaping the world around us than we have previously acknowledged. Pachita's work, along with other mystical and spiritual practices, offered a glimpse into the possibility that reality is not as fixed as we believe. Instead, it may be a malleable construct, one that can be altered by those who are able to tap into the deeper layers of consciousness that govern it. The synergic theory and the latice. Through his cognitive information generating and integrating consciousness, CGIC, theory, Grinberg attempted to explain paranormal experiences using the scientific method. According to this hypothesis, the brain interacts with an informational field of incredible complexity rather than distinct objects. According to Grinberg, this field corresponds to what some physicists refer to as the pre-spatial field, the space-time perception we experience, in which objects seem to have form and structure, is produced by interactions between the brain and this field. His most significant contribution was a scientific description of how a holographic informational field interacts with the neuronal field of the brain to produce perception and reality. All of reality's knowledge and potentials are contained in a delicate, fundamental structure that Grinberg dubbed the latice. He said that this lattice, which exists at all levels of manifestation, is the essence of reality. A number of spiritual and philosophical ideas could be compared to the lattice or fundamental matrix. The Tao of Taoism, the all or great mind of Hermes Trismegistus, the omnipotent, omnipresent, infinite, and everlasting God of Christianity, or the Brahman of Hinduism. The Tao, the Tao, which cannot be named, is the true Tao, nameless, elusive, and beyond any form of description. It is the beginning of the universe and the mother of all things. From the perspective of non-being, we grasp its essence, but from the standpoint of being, we can only perceive its outward appearance. This profound concept ties into Jacobo Grinberg's theory, which delves into the way the human brain functions as a neuronal field that generates a mental continuum. This continuum, a continuous flow of thought and perception, forms the foundation of our conscious experience. Within this flow emerges a pattern or algorithm, a set of instructions or a guiding framework that interacts with what Grinberg refers to as the lattice. This lattice is an informational field, an energetic structure that encompasses all of reality. The role of the brain's algorithm is to engage with the lattice, selecting and discriminating the information that ultimately shapes our perceived reality. In essence, it filters the chaos of the infinite possibilities within the lattice, organizing them into the coherent world we experience. This algorithm, according to Grinberg, is not just a passive tool but an active process that generates the sense of self, or the individual ego. The ego, a mental construct, creates a sense of identity and continuity over time, binding our thoughts, experiences, and emotions together into a unified sense of who we are. It is the lens through which we view the world, yet it is not the true essence of our being. At the heart of Grinberg's cognitive and global information continuum, CGIC theory is the lattice. The lattice, as Grinberg explains, is a key element in understanding how we perceive and interact with reality. The term CGIC is derived from the fusion of the words synthesis and energy, referring to the synthesis of energy across various levels of reality. According to this theory, and other philosophies we've explored, everything in the universe, without exception, is energy. Everything around us vibrates at certain frequencies, and this vibrational energy holds the key to understanding the nature of existence. Synergy, as described by Grinberg, refers to the level of information coherence that becomes observable at specific points within the lattice. This coherence is what makes reality intelligible to us. The universe is not a static, unchanging thing. It is in constant motion, constantly shifting and evolving through energy and information exchange. The lattice, or the energetic structure of reality, is not fixed but rather subject to the distortions created by consciousness. It is through our conscious awareness that the lattice takes shape and becomes the universe we experience. What Grinberg posits is that through our consciousness, we are not simply passive observers of a predetermined world. Instead, we actively shape and distort the lattice to create the reality we experience. Our thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions are not merely reactions to external stimuli. They are integral to the very fabric of the universe itself. We are not separate from the world. We are a part of the ongoing process of creation, influencing and molding the reality around us in ways that go beyond our current understanding. The lattice is not a static entity but a dynamic system, continuously formed and reformed by the consciousness that interacts with it. Through this lens, reality is not a fixed, immutable construct but an ever-evolving tapestry of energy and information, shaped by the collective consciousness of all beings. The deeper Grinberg delved into the study of consciousness and the brain's interaction with the lattice, the more he began to understand that what we perceive as solid, unchangeable reality is in fact malleable and subject to the influence of the mind. The human brain, with its intricate neuronal fields, acts as both a receiver and a transmitter of information within this vast energetic lattice. Through consciousness, we are capable of altering the very fabric of reality, though this ability is often beyond our immediate awareness. The more we learn about the lattice and the role consciousness plays in shaping our world, the more we begin to realize that the boundaries between mind and matter are not as clear-cut as we once believed. Through altered states of consciousness, through practices like meditation or deep introspection, individuals may be able to tap into this deeper layer of reality. In doing so, they may access the potential to influence and even manipulate the lattice, creating changes in their external world by first transforming their internal experience. Ultimately, Grinberg's theory offers a radically different view of reality, one in which consciousness is not a byproduct of physical processes but an integral force that shapes the very structure of the universe. The lattice, which exists as a field of information and energy, is the canvas upon which consciousness paints the world. As we become more attuned to the subtle energies that shape our perceptions, we may come to understand the true nature of reality and our role in its ongoing creation. Synergy. In its purest state, the lattice synergy exists beyond the realm of matter, untouched by the laws of physics such as gravity and free from any alterations. It is a vast, boundless field of infinite potentiality, a space where everything that could possibly exist is held in a state of pure possibility. In this state, the lattice is not yet formed. There is no distinction between object and void, no differentiation between substance and space. Everything is in a perfect state of balance, an unmanifested field of infinite potential. However, when a distortion or alteration occurs within this lattice, it results in a decrease in its synergy, the intricate harmony of the lattice. This shift in the lattice causes the emergence of matter, creating the physical world we experience. These alterations to the lattice are what give rise to everything we perceive as reality: our bodies, the objects around us, the world we live in. What we perceive as solid and tangible is actually a result of these distortions in the lattice's pure state. The space-time matrix that we call the lattice is thus an incredibly complex and dynamic field, constantly shifting and evolving as consciousness interacts with it. In essence, our entire experience of the world, our emotions, thoughts, physical sensations, and all other experiences, is a distortion or modification of this vast, intricate lattice. These alterations are not random, but are shaped by the interaction between our consciousness and the lattice itself. Every experience, every perception, every thought we have is a unique modulation of this field, a reflection of the way our mind interacts with the larger network of reality. The lattice provides the framework, and consciousness imbues it with meaning, creating the world we perceive. The greater the coherence between our consciousness and the lattice, the more complex and intricate our perceptions and our influence over reality become. When there is a high level of coherence, our thoughts, emotions, and actions are more closely aligned with the true nature of the lattice, and as a result, our ability to influence the world around us becomes stronger. We can tap into higher states of awareness and bring about more profound changes in our lives, and even in the world at large. This heightened coherence is what allows for extraordinary phenomena such as telepathy, healing, or levitation to occur. Experiences that defy conventional explanations and reveal the power of consciousness to shape reality. On the other hand, when coherence between our consciousness and the lattice is low, our perception becomes more limited and simplistic. Our ability to influence reality diminishes, and we are bound by the limitations of our immediate, physical experience. In these states, we are less aware of the underlying network that connects all things, and we perceive the world in a more fragmented, isolated way. The projection of reality becomes less fluid, and we are less able to tap into the deeper layers of the lattice that govern the nature of existence. Grinberg's cognitive and neural information continuum, CNIC theory, which explores the relationship between consciousness and reality, is not an isolated concept within contemporary science. It resonates with and connects to other theories that explore the nature of reality, consciousness, and perception in similar yet distinct ways. The idea that consciousness is not merely a byproduct of the brain but an active force that shapes and influences reality is a concept that appears in various disciplines, from quantum physics to philosophy to spirituality. For instance, in quantum mechanics, the observer effect suggests that the act of observation plays a role in the collapse of the quantum wave function, determining the outcome of quantum events. This aligns with Grinberg's idea that consciousness has the ability to influence the very fabric of reality, shaping what we perceive based on the interaction between our minds and the lattice. Similarly, in philosophical traditions such as idealism, reality is seen as a construct of consciousness, with the external world existing only as a reflection of the mind's perception. These parallels suggest that Grinberg's theory is part of a broader, emerging understanding of reality, one in which consciousness is not separate from the universe, but an integral force that shapes and gives meaning to the world around us. The concept of the lattice itself, with its infinite potentiality and the power to be shaped by consciousness, also bears resemblance to ideas found in other spiritual and metaphysical traditions. In Hinduism, for example, the concept of Brahman as the underlying reality of the universe echoes the idea of a formless, infinite field from which all things emerge. Similarly, in the Buddhist tradition, the idea of emptiness or shunyata suggests that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence and are shaped by consciousness and perception. These ideas, though expressed in different terms, point to a common understanding that reality is not fixed or material but is instead a dynamic interplay of consciousness and energy, continuously shaped by the mind. As we explore these different perspectives, it becomes clear that Grinberg's theory offers a framework that bridges the gap between science, consciousness, and reality. His work provides a theoretical basis for understanding how the mind and the universe are intricately connected, and how our perceptions and actions can influence the world around us in ways that go beyond our conventional understanding. Through this lens, we begin to see the universe not as a collection of separate, inert objects, but as a vast, interconnected field of energy and information, constantly shifting, evolving, and shaped by the consciousness that interacts with it. Other theories. 3 notable examples of these other theories are: 1. The holographic theory of the brain and reality, developed by neuroscientist Carl Pribram and strengthened by physicist David Bohm. This theory suggests that both the brain and reality function like a hologram, where each part contains the information of the whole. In this view, every small segment of the brain, and even the universe itself, contains a miniature version of the entire system. In essence, this implies that reality, as we perceive it, is a projection of an underlying holographic structure. Just as a hologram appears to have depth and complexity despite being made from simple, two-dimensional projections, so too does our perception of reality emerge from a deeper, non-material source that encodes all information within it. This suggests that our experiences, thoughts, and perceptions might not be isolated or individual, but are instead interconnected with the larger, all-encompassing holographic structure of the universe. 2. The theory of morphic fields, created by biologist Rupert Sheldrake. Sheldrake's theory proposes that nature has a collective memory transmitted through morphic fields, which influence the form and behavior of biological systems. These fields, according to Sheldrake, are not bound by space and time in the conventional sense and allow for the transmission of information across generations. Morphic fields can influence the development and evolution of species, providing a mechanism through which behaviors and patterns are passed down through time. In this view, every form of life, whether it's an individual organism or a species as a whole, is influenced by these fields. They guide the development of biological systems, from the shape of a plant to the patterns of animal behavior. These morphic fields allow organisms to adapt, learn, and evolve based on a collective memory that stretches beyond the immediate physical environment, further blurring the lines between consciousness and the material world. 3. The theory of biocentrism, proposed by scientist Robert Lanza. This theory argues that life and consciousness are central to understanding the universe, suggesting that reality is shaped by conscious perception. According to biocentrism, the universe does not exist independently of the observer. Instead, it is life and consciousness that create and give meaning to reality. In this view, consciousness is not a mere byproduct of brain activity, but is instead a fundamental component of the universe, deeply interconnected with the fabric of existence. The theory proposes that time, space, and the laws of physics are constructs that are only meaningful in the context of life and consciousness. Without consciousness to observe and interpret the universe, reality as we know it would not exist. Biocentrism challenges the conventional materialistic view, offering a new lens through which to understand the universe. A universe that exists not just as a collection of matter and energy, but as a living, conscious entity. These theories, like Grinberg's CNIC theory, offer different ways to approach and understand the nature of reality and consciousness, reflecting the various ways the concept of God or the ultimate essence of reality can be explored. Each theory presents a framework for understanding how the mind, consciousness, and the universe are intricately intertwined. While each theory has its unique perspective, they all share a common thread: the idea that reality is not a fixed, objective entity, but is instead shaped by consciousness and the flow of information. Whether through holograms, morphic fields, or biocentrism, these theories suggest that the universe is not something separate from us but is deeply connected to our perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. The truth is one, and the wise speak of it with different names. Just as different cultures and philosophies have their own ways of describing the nature of the universe and the ultimate essence of reality, these scientific theories point to the same fundamental understanding: that the universe and consciousness are intertwined in ways that go beyond the material world. Reality is not something that can be easily explained by conventional science, but rather something that is shaped by the mind, by perception, and by the deeper, invisible forces that govern existence. Just as Grinberg proposed the concept of the lattice, other theorists present their own models of how consciousness interacts with reality, offering a multitude of perspectives on the same fundamental question. What is the nature of reality, and how does consciousness shape it? Rigveda. In the latest edition of his CGIC theory, Grinberg provides a detailed explanation of Pak's miracles. According to him, Pak was able to generate a neuronal field in complete coherence with the lattice, the informational structure underlying our perception of reality. Grinberg stated that our perception of reality is a sequence of images that are created and disappear every 50 milliseconds, giving us the illusion of continuity. Under normal circumstances, these perceptions are fleeting, but Grinberg speculated that if someone could extend the duration of one of these perceptions, they could anchor it in the lattice, thus materializing objects or even organs. This could explain how Pak performed her extraordinary interventions, manipulating the lattice to alter reality in a tangible way. For Grinberg, reality is not fixed but a continuous process of creation and destruction of perceptions. By mastering this process, as Pak seemingly did, it would be possible to materialize what normally exists only in our internal perception. This idea resembles creative visualization, where maintaining a mental image for an extended period is believed to influence physical reality. Attention plays a key role in this process, but I would also like to add faith as another fundamental component in any act of manifestation. It does not have to be faith in a specific deity, but rather in the conviction and total lack of doubt that what we wish to achieve will happen. As Jesus said, "If you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, You shall say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and nothing shall be impossible for you. Matthew 17 verse 20. This concept aligns with Grinberg's views, as faith combined with focused attention seems to unlock the ability to manipulate the lattice and change reality. Through the combination of these two powerful elements, attention and faith, individuals may exert influence on the lattice and therefore shape the reality that they experience. Under Grinberg's CGIC theory, the law of attraction and the law of assumption make complete sense. They are not only possible, but the very foundation of reality. Typically, humans operate from a low level of coherence with the lattice, which prevents us from having a high impact on the distortion of reality at will and consciously. However, by raising our consciousness and increasing our coherence with the lattice, we align ourselves with the universe, provoking synchronicities and altering our destiny at will. Essentially, we transform the matrix of reality. But how do we increase our coherence with the lattice to have greater influence on our perception of reality? Grinberg's theory suggests that this involves elevating our awareness and mental clarity. When we become more attuned to the lattice, we allow ourselves to perceive the world in its purest form, untouched by the biases or limitations that typically distort our view of reality. Increased coherence with the lattice allows for a deeper connection with the underlying informational field, providing greater access to its potential for change. This state of heightened awareness can be cultivated through practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and focused intention, all of which help align the mind and consciousness with the lattice's frequency. In addition, Grinberg emphasizes the importance of emotional and spiritual alignment. When our emotions and beliefs are in harmony with our intentions, we create a powerful field of coherence that resonates with the lattice, amplifying our ability to influence reality. This alignment helps to dissolve the blockages and distortions that may prevent us from fully manifesting our desires. Just as Pack was able to perceive and manipulate the lattice to manifest objects or heal, we, too, can learn to align ourselves with this cosmic field, transforming our circumstances and experiences. As we continue to explore Grinberg's theory, we begin to understand that our perception of reality is not merely a passive experience but an active process. Through increased coherence with the lattice, we are able to change our perception of the world and, in doing so, change the world itself. By accessing the deeper layers of consciousness, we open the door to limitless potential, where the boundaries of the material world are fluid and subject to our influence. In this state, the seemingly impossible becomes possible, and the laws of physics, as we know them, become malleable. Through focused attention, unwavering faith, and alignment with the lattice, we can shape the world in accordance with our deepest desires and intentions. Thus, the pursuit of greater coherence with the lattice becomes not just an intellectual exercise but a transformative journey, one that empowers us to manifest the life we truly desire. It is a path of discovery where the boundaries between the internal and external worlds blur, and the full potential of human consciousness is realized. As we deepen our understanding of the lattice and our role within it, we begin to unlock the profound mysteries of reality and the universe, opening the door to a new paradigm of existence. Meditation. The first step is to fully immerse ourselves in the present moment, free from all judgment and mental conditioning. Next, I leave you with the meditation that Jacobo Grinberg used to achieve coherence with the totality, the auto-elusive meditation. It is about integrating one by one all the aspects you can perceive with your senses in order to achieve total coherence with the lattice and connect with the whole, with the source, with yourself. Here are the steps to follow. Sit or lie down in the most comfortable way possible. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. If any thought or sensation arises, let them flow without identifying with them or struggling to make them disappear. Just return your attention to your breathing. Then, scan each part of your body from the crown of your head to your feet as if performing a complete scan. Feel each area and then unify the perception of your body, observing it as a unit. This helps you recover your body image and reach a transcendent position. Now, combine the sensation of bodily totality with the observation of your breathing, becoming aware of both simultaneously. Do the same with the observation of your thoughts, emotions, mental images, the sounds of the environment, and your visual perception. The technique involves gradually adding and integrating, step by step, and as a non-judgmental observer, each of your perceptions, both physical and mental. By achieving simultaneous observation of all these aspects, you reach a threshold where your previous self-conceptions disappear, connecting with something deeper and closer to your true essence. Upon reaching that threshold, you can use the visualization of what you wish to manifest, combining it with the law of assumption, which involves faith and the feeling that your desire has already been fulfilled. By entering a state of coherence between the brain, the heart, and the source, or the lattice, it is possible to reprogram reality directly from the source of the hologram projection, accelerating and even omitting intermediate processes in the act of manifestation, as Grinberg proposed. The key here is to allow the full immersion of your awareness into each sensory perception, treating them as equal, without attaching significance or judgment to any particular one. This creates a space in which the layers of the ego and individual identity dissolve, revealing a more expansive connection to the universal flow. It's as though the boundaries between you and the external world blur, and you are able to experience the totality of existence in each moment. As you continue with this practice, you may begin to notice that the normal distinctions between the inside and outside worlds start to dissolve. Your body's sensations no longer feel separate from the environment, and your thoughts begin to synchronize with the rhythm of your breath, like two waves moving together in perfect harmony. This synchronicity becomes the key to manifesting change from within. Once you have reached a point of balance between all of these elements, you enter a state where you are no longer a passive observer of reality, but an active participant in shaping it. Your intention, fused with the clarity and coherence that has been cultivated through the meditation, now has the potential to influence the lattice in a powerful and transformative way. Grinberg's theory suggests that when you reach a state of coherence between your mind, body, and the universal source, you can bypass traditional laws of manifestation and directly influence the fabric of reality. This is not simply a mental exercise, but a deep, holistic approach to aligning your internal state with the external world. When your intentions are aligned with the rhythm of the universe, they have the power to manifest with greater precision and speed. It's important to understand that this state of coherence does not happen overnight. It requires consistent practice, patience, and a willingness to let go of limiting beliefs and preconceptions. As you progress with this meditation, the changes you experience may not always be immediately visible, but over time, they accumulate and lead to profound shifts in your perception and reality. This meditation, and the theory behind it, show us that the boundaries between consciousness and matter are more fluid than we have been led to believe. Our perception of reality is far more malleable than we think, and through practices like these, we can harness the power of the lattice to create the life we desire, one thought and one sensation at a time. The more we increase our coherence, the more we align with the greater flow of existence, opening up new pathways for manifestation and transformation. Ultimately, it is through this deeper connection with the lattice and the universe at large that we can unlock the full potential of our consciousness, shaping the world around us in ways that go beyond the ordinary. Through this practice, we not only manifest externally but also undergo a transformation of the self, allowing us to connect with the deepest aspects of who we truly are. Transferred potential. Before his disappearance, Jacobo Grinberg was developing another fascinating theory known as transferred potential. In his experiments, he demonstrated a surprising interaction between the brains of two people who had created a bond, such as meditating together or simply feeling each other's presence in a room in silence. When one of the people was stimulated, the brain of the other, who was in a completely isolated room, received the same stimulation. Grinberg's groundbreaking research into transferred potential revealed that the minds of individuals could affect each other in ways that went beyond simple communication or physical interaction. This phenomenon was particularly pronounced when the individuals shared a deep connection, whether through physical proximity, meditation, or even a nonverbal emotional bond. The power of the connection between these two people was so strong that, even when they were separated by great distances, their mental states seemed to influence one another in real time. To illustrate this, Grinberg conducted experiments where two people would undergo simultaneous brain scans. One person would be subjected to a particular sensory stimulation, perhaps a light flash or a sound. And at the exact moment of stimulation, the other person, who was in a completely different room, showed the same neural response, despite not being directly exposed to the stimulus. This mind-to-mind connection was unlike anything previously understood in neuroscience. Grinberg's next step was to expand the experiment to a global scale. He envisioned testing the concept of transferred potential across even greater distances, with one participant in India and the other in Mexico. His theory proposed that, if a connection could exist between two minds in close proximity, it might be even more powerful when individuals were continents apart, challenging the boundaries of time and space in an entirely new way. This ambitious plan held the promise of revealing deeper truths about human consciousness, connectivity, and the nature of reality itself. Unfortunately, just before Grinberg had the chance to carry out this experiment, he disappeared without a trace. His sudden and unexplained vanishing left the scientific community in shock and confusion. Despite the tragedy of his disappearance, his work continued to influence researchers and thinkers in the years that followed. His theories on consciousness, perception, and reality remain topics of ongoing study and discussion, keeping his intellectual legacy alive even after 3 decades. The mysteries surrounding Grinberg's disappearance only added to the intrigue and reverence for his work. His groundbreaking contributions to the understanding of the mind, consciousness, and the potential for human connection have had a lasting impact on the fields of neuroscience, psychology, and beyond. His theories continue to inspire new generations of researchers and explorers who seek to unlock the secrets of human consciousness and the vast, uncharted territories of the mind. Even though 30 years have passed since his disappearance, his work and his greatness as a person continue to be objects of fascination and study. His insights into the interconnectedness of all living beings and the unexplored potential of human consciousness continue to shape our understanding of reality. Grinberg's disappearance remains a deep mystery, yet his legacy is one of profound importance, leaving an indelible mark on both the scientific world and the broader exploration of consciousness. That's it for today's video. I hope this information has been useful and enriching. Thank you very much for watching until the end. See you soon.